Hey, it's Mia.
And Kennedy. And this is a Silver Lining with M and K. Could y'all tell that was backwards?
Yeah, that was backwards. Sometimes I wonder if people can tell the difference, but I think they can.
Yeah.
Because I know on podcasts, like, sometimes they're like, oh, I can't tell who's who, but I feel like our voices are pretty distinguishable.
Maybe we just say that because we're
Maybe
us.
we're just around.
Guys, comment down below if you can tell our voices
Welcome to
apart.
another video, guys. In this video, we're going to be... Did you even say the Silver Lining with M&K?
Yes, I did.
No.
I did.
I just skipped over that. I'm sorry.
No, but it's because we did it backwards. It's okay.
Yeah,
L intro.
I think I enjoy our intros.
Okay.
Today's topic is about being black. Black people don't exist, so podcast over.
Black History Month is tomorrow.
Black History Month starts tomorrow.
And by the time y'all are seeing this, Black History Month, this is day 2.
Will have started.
So, guys, if you're not black, what have you been doing to contribute to society and improving the quality of life of every single black person in your life? What have you done?
Yeah.
Nothing? You're done.
Nothing?
You're canceled.
Nothing, then maybe... You know what? We're not even going to say that.
We shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
But lock your doors at night.
Yeah. Lock your doors at night. You know, if some kind of rodent is let loose in your house, and, you know, you don't know why.
Yeah. You don't ask questions.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for, like, the TikToks to come.
Yeah.
The jokes.
Because last year, that was the first time that I really saw, like, the jokes happen when, like, all of the white people would, like, lay down, and then, like, a black guy would, like, walk across their backs.
That's funny.
It's funny.
That is actually comedy.
It's funny, and it's, like, enjoyable for both races, which I think in America, with so much polarization, you have to find the little things.
You do. Exactly. And everything is, it's because I'm black.
Yeah.
Oh, I failed my test because I'm black?
Yeah. No. Okay, I got fired because I'm black.
Wow. Okay, that does happen, though, guys.
It does.
That actually does happen.
But we're talking about the people.
We're talking about, we're just LOLing.
That,
we're
you know.
LOLing.
LOLing.
Can I be a millennial?
You sound like a millennial.
Yeah.
I was going to say that. I saw this TikTok of this girl crying because she said she wanted to be a mom so bad. And I was like, yes.
Kennedy, you have so much mom and, like, baby content. Like, guys, if you saw Kennedy's For You page, like, it's, like, married couples, babies, like, pregnant women. Like, God. Kennedy is actually, her For You page thinks that she's 34 years old.
I want to transport to when I'm 34 years old. And that's a toxic trait because my mom was like, Kennedy, like, you're only going to be 17 first. Like, and I just want to be, like at that place
17.
In my life for so long.
Have, like, funny, toxic TikToks on your TikTok page.
I don't like to go out. I don't like to do, like, stuff that I don't want to sound like, oh, I'm being different, but I genuinely just, like, don't like the stuff that we have to stop. We have to stop.
Give me 1 second, please. It was like gone.
So I had to look under the couch and look for the Cane's cup, and it was under, like, in the corner of the couch, but it didn't spill. So I think Cane's, like, that's another reason why Cane's is good.
Cane's is good. Cane's
spillable cups.
Non-spillable
cups.
What's in my cup?
I don't want to talk about it because when she came to my house, she didn't bring any for me.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll just leave then. If that works for you. Yeah?
Yeah, thank you. If you could, like, deliver some to my house.
Right.
She has Dr. Pepper in her cup. And I think as best friends, our mutual love for Dr. Pepper has just grown.
It has.
It's just grown over time.
I'm with you. I just feel closer to Dr. Pepper.
Wow.
Okay, let's get back.
Sorry, guys.
Black History Month.
This is two people who cannot keep a thought to save their lives.
We do get a little bit distracted.
A little bit.
Little.
We've heard no complaints.
Absolutely zero.
We've seen, like,
complain. I want you to.
Yeah.
Like
actually, don't.
Lock your doors. No.
Just
lock your doors at night. That's all we have to say. Just lock your doors.
Oh my God, Mom! I just watched this podcast and this girl threatened me in my house on the podcast.
Did I?
Those are what our listeners are gonna say.
Okay, let's be serious for real. Because, guys, some of these topics today are...
Okay, I just want to say one more thing.
Okay, what?
We have people international, which I think is just insane to me. So we're talking about being black in America. This is going to be different from being black in other countries, but to our
100%.
international people, which is just so cool to say, we see you.
Oh my gosh, that is kind of crazy, guys. So we're American.
Yes.
I think they can tell. They can
Yeah,
tell.
definitely.
But no, this episode is about being black in strictly just America, because we can't touch on anybody else's experience.
Yeah.
In other countries.
We also can't touch on any other black person's experience. So this is just going to be based solely off of what we've gone through, what we saw, what we've experienced growing up.
Yes. So if you are not black and you're listening to this,
don't listen at all.
Wait.
Click off.
No. Listen. But everything that we're saying is not necessarily your black person's opinion, because I feel like we get generalized a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm not speaking for anybody else. I'm speaking for Mia herself.
Yeah.
And you were speaking for Kennedy.
No, I genuinely want everybody to listen to this episode, because I think open race discussions, which I'll get into later, are so important. And just being able to hear each other from an honest perspective is super, super important. Then that's how we understand each other.
100%.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to go first? The youngest can go first.
Oh.
Go
okay.
ahead.
Okay, so my first is gonna kind of touch on the generalization
I like that word.
kind of topic.
Okay.
Did you say that was a big word?
I said I like that word.
Oh. So I feel like that this happens like so often in like day-to-day life, if you are in a predominantly white area or just place that you aren't surrounded by people that look like you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's a pre-assumption and a prejudgment of me and who I am, and like they think that I'm about to do something bad, or that I'm always up to no good, or it's just, you know what I'm saying?
You're saying like a white person's perception of you.
Kind of. Yeah.
I'm trying to grasp.
It feels like a stereotype, kind of.
Okay.
Like when that white woman clutches her purse when the black man walks by.
Yeah.
Like that's what it feels like. It feels like that. And I feel like for the longest of time, I felt like I had to act so far from that, to the point where nobody could ever think that, because I just had to prove myself that I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. Like, don't think about this. And then I also felt like they looked at me and they'd be like, okay, she's the entire black community.
Yeah.
And that if I were to mess up, or if I were to be fit and get upset rightfully about something, then I would fit into that angry black woman role. And then they'd be like, this is what I'm saying. Black women are always angry. They're so aggressive. They're so this.
Yeah.
And I just had to like prove that I wasn't.
So that's crazy that you said that, because I think one thing that I heard that has stuck with me is that an overwhelming majority of serial killers are white men, specifically. Mm-hmm. And there are a number of black people who are criminals. There are a number of black people who do the wrong thing. But for a cop to profile every single person as that small percentage of black criminals, but when it comes to a white person, not every white young college kid that they see is the next Ted Bundy. Yeah, do you see what I'm saying? If they see someone who's running with a hoodie on, in their head they'll be like, okay, the next person that's running with the hoodie on is a criminal. But they don't do that with white serial killers who kill mass amounts of people. There are tons and tons and tons of disparities. Like, for example, there's a lot of missing women that I think happened in Kansas, and the community was saying that it was a serial killer, and the Kansas City police, I think it's Kansas City, correct me if I'm wrong, but they didn't do anything. And then when they found the serial killer, they denied the fact that they overlooked the community who were telling them that there was a serial killer on the loose, and that got twice less media coverage than if a white person went missing. So I don't want to downplay the experiences of white people, because that is not how we move forward. And that's just not who I am either. But you have to realize and open your eyes to see that there are tons of disparities that we don't even realize happen in America. And the missing people is just one example, because missing people will get NBC nightly news coverage. And then if an African American woman goes missing, then you may never hear about it.
Yeah, you literally may never hear about it.
Yeah. So I think that just opening your eyes and being vigilant about those things will open your eyes and hopefully change some of the things. But another thing I wanted to say is that nobody's born racist.
Yup.
Nobody comes out, and we're going to talk about an insecurities episode soon. But nobody comes out racist. Nobody comes out saying that they are, I hate this race, and I hate this race, and I hate this race, and I hate what they do, and I'm going to cause harm on them. This is something that is indoctrinated in their brains, learning from the people around them. So nobody comes out with this hatred. It starts from somewhere. So even racist people in 2023, it came from somewhere. They weren't born like this.
Yeah, nobody was born like this. It's a learned trait. 100% it is. It's like the product of environment of. I don't even. How do you become racist? How did that happen?
I don't know.
Because you know what? I would say, okay, you grew up like that, but a lot of people, you can unlearn that. Like, that's not even an excuse anymore. At a certain point in your life, your childhood is not an excuse anymore. Like, you very much well can work on that yourself.
Yes.
And not put that onto other people.
Yeah.
You don't
and a lot of people just don't want to. Especially in, like, U.S. history, a white abolitionist is going to get shunned away from the people that believe in slavery because they're different. You know, nobody wants to be in society. Not many people want to be the person that stands out. So even if you learn from it, even if you grow, there are a lot of bystanders that don't do anything in fear of either retaliation or being different than others.
And that's sad.
It is. But it happens in society so often that I think these things that we're talking about right now, you never even hear about. Like, you don't even realize.
You don't. Like, when you're sitting in that, you don't.
And some of these biases that either police officers, white people, even black people have, you don't realize. Maybe a store owner will look at a black person more to see if they're stealing more than a white person, but it might not even be a conscious thought to be racist.
Unconscious bias.
You don't even realize that these things are happening. And that is why with police officers, it's so important to break your mind out of that, because they don't even realize that they do it until they do it. And then there's a police brutality case on the news.
100. So I think some of those are.
No, some of them are deliberate.
Unconscious.
Some of them are deliberate, but I think some of them
intentional.
Don't even realize that the unnecessary force that they're putting or the aggression that they're using is not something that they do with a white person.
I think that there are, I don't know necessarily if I would say it in the police brutality. Like, I don't know if I'd categorize it like that, but no, there's definitely times you get followed around. I've been followed around in the store. And I'm like small. Like, I look like I would steal from a store?
No. Mia is 5'2".
3.
Sorry.
Yeah, try again.
I'll give you your respect. I'll give you your flowers. Chill out.
5'3". Like, I'm a small girl.
Yeah, she's not built.
I'm not built at all. So you think I'm stealing from your store, like following me around?
No. How am I going to do that?
Always looking. Oh, is she cheating? Is she on her phone? Is she like?
And let me give you another example of unconscious bias that I want to talk about. So my dad was looking at building a house. And we went to different companies that have homes. You know how they have stage homes and they have offices, and you can go talk to them, see what your plans are, your options are, how many months it's going to take to build. So my dad was looking at all of that, and we went to one home, like base home kind of thing. Excuse me. And my dad's walking around and he asks about one plan. And so look at it like a 1, 2, 3 kind of situation. And third is the least, second is the middle, and first is the most amount of money it would cost, or the biggest house that you could get. So my dad's like asking about it, and then he asked about the first house, the biggest house and the one that costs the most money to pay for. And she's like, "Oh, are you sure that you wouldn't want the third option? Are you sure?" She was like, "Are you sure that may not, like, that may suit you and your family a little better?" And I don't even think that she realized, or maybe she did, but it's a microaggression. Like, you don't think that a black person can pay for a house that anybody else can?
Yeah.
Why is your first thought to go to the lowest possible option? We were very...
What did he say?
He handled it very, and I think he's, used to it being a black man in America. He was like, "No, I'm more focused on this house." And that was it. Like, I'm more focused on this house. And then eventually, like, she let it go and she had to
That's so
answer
weird,
questions
though.
about the house.
Like,
Yeah.
that's weird.
Mm-hmm.
I would be going to a different place because you would have it.
Yeah.
Like,
So ultimately, it puts a bad taste in your mouth of these group of people are going to treat me differently, and they don't even realize it. Or maybe they do realize it.
That's a good question. Like, do these people realize it or not? Because I feel like sometimes they genuinely don't. And this has to do with my next thing that I'm gonna say.
Okay.
I feel like sometimes they genuinely don't realize it, but other times it's like there's no way that you don't know. Like, there's just no way that you don't.
And at that point, it's deliberate.
Yeah. Okay, so my next one is I want to talk about the N-word, guys. I am the type of person that if you are not black and you're saying this around me, I do feel a certain way. And there's many people that don't think that it's that big of a deal.
I agree.
There's many people that say, like, oh, it's just a word.
Yeah.
And it's completely fine. Me personally, I don't say any slurs.
Yeah.
And I especially wouldn't say a slur that I don't even have, not even like rights to, but like
You don't even have the power, the means,
yeah, like that's not me.
Yeah.
Like, that's offensive to someone.
Mm-hmm.
And what do I like potentially offending someone?
Right.
Like, and I know that, and I'm still gonna say it.
Yeah.
No. So when you're like when I have been like, what? Like, when I found out that some of these people were like, oh yeah, like, I did say the N-word last week. Like, this white man literally said to me, like, oh, like, talking about how some of these people, like, they say the N-word, these people are not black. And I was like, what? Like, why? I was like, why? Like, I don't understand. Like, why? And they're like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Who are you
to say
to tell
that
me
that has that big of a deal?
if that, like, huh?
And if you don't know, the N-word originally was used by white slave owners to get somebody to do something, to enforce them to work more, to enforce them to get up, to enforce them to
It was just
to do what they want.
It was like
It was a taunting name. And originally, it was used in Africa as a more positive connotation, and they took that and used that to taunt them
negatively
instead. And so, coming up in media, and we'll talk about that later, and songs and music, people began to take that word back, and that's a word that black people can use. So it's incredibly invalidating, especially for a non-white person to say that it's not a big deal.
She meant non-black.
Because they will never be they'll never be who we are.
No.
Or face the same things. No matter if you're white. It doesn't matter if you're white. If you are any other race and still say that, everybody's struggles are different, and you know the struggles the most when you're in the shoes of those and when you're walking through them.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't say to someone who has cancer that you understand because you don't have cancer.
You don't have cancer. And you wouldn't tell them it's not that big of a deal.
Right. Because you don't know how they feel.
Oh, chemo's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Like,
losing your hair is not that big of a deal.
It's not that big of a deal, actually. Like, no.
And of course, we're being sensitive to that topic, but we're using that to say that looking at someone else's potential pain and trauma and saying that it is not that big of a deal. Stop talking about it. It's over. It's not over, though.
Slavery was so long ago. Like, yeah, oh my gosh.
But it's not, though.
The most frustrating thing ever.
If microaggressions and blatant racism and Confederate flags and yelling the N-word and all of this stuff that happens in America to black people stopped happening, if this racism stopped at slavery, then it's over. But it never did.
It never stopped at slavery.
It carried over to other countries. You can go to other countries and someone will call you an N-word on the bus in France. Like, this is something that has moved over. So it doesn't matter where you go because you can, it's not everywhere, but it has moved past nations and countries. This indoctrinated belief of thinking, social Darwinism, all this has transgressed into somewhere else. So if this was contained and it stopped when the 13th Amendment was ratified and slavery was abolished, then great. We wouldn't have to talk about all this.
We wouldn't.
Do you think that anybody like genuinely wants to go through this?
Nobody wants to, and they're like, don't bring race into it. Nobody wanted to bring race into it. Race was already in it.
Right.
Race never left it.
Right.
It was always here. It was never gone.
Yeah. Never. Literally never.
And it wasn't that long ago. Like, people's grandparents, like, people are still alive that grandparents were slaves. Like, it wasn't that long ago. It really wasn't.
And this is another thing I wanted to talk about. Slavery in textbooks and curriculum is so watered down to where you can take mashed potatoes with a bite and go, that's not that bad.
Literally to the point where, like, it's like you get a soda, you let it sit for 2 hours.
Yeah, and then you can drink it because it's not as
carbonated.
It's not as graphic and as brutal and as excruciating as it is.
And now it's just
And I don't want to get into the graphics of slavery because that's not what this is about. I don't want to shock anyone into being like, this is what happened. But Southern culture specifically, wouldn't you look at that? The South downplays slavery and says they just picked cotton. That was it. When so many other things happened, so many other things transpired that nobody talks about because they want to erase that part of history.
Exactly. And also, let's just talk about how they're always glorifying the accomplishments that these colonizers had and all that stuff. Black people.
Oh, you're talking about like Native Americans?
No.
Oh.
I'm saying like when they came, they colonized whatever. They're just like, oh, like then they invented this and they did this, they did this. What about the people like the Africans that were doing brain surgeries and like Black people are smart. Black people are smart. The whole narrative,
and that's why they didn't want them to read, because they knew that if they could read and communicate and talk to one another, slavery could have been over.
Like they would have been the biggest rebellion alive.
I know,
like literally. And so I feel like it's just that whole narrative has definitely. I feel like it's affected every Black person. The narrative that you're stupid.
When you keep people unknowing, they can't do anything. They're helpless. That is why it's so important to research, to not even about Black history, but to research about every aspect of your life. Because when you're educated on something versus uneducated, you can make better decisions. You can live life a different way. And they took that away from Black people because they wanted to keep them in labor.
Yeah, I truly believe that if everybody was educated about the history and just all of this, then none of this would happen. And maybe I'm naive to think that people just don't understand, but I think there's a lot of people that are ignorant and they just like oblivious to all the stuff that really occurred, and they just think that Black people won't shut up.
Yeah.
And they just think you just want the upper hand, you just want,
because they
whatever,
were never exposed to anything else.
Exactly. I genuinely feel that if these people were educated, y'all would not be saying this stuff that you're saying.
Especially in the South. I've seen so many people from Mississippi and Alabama and Georgia and even Texas who had highly, I'm not going to say, this is not political, but had highly racist views. And then once they actually learned, once they did research from themselves, they came to a conclusion where they're like, okay, the way that I'm thinking is wrong.
I really hope that everybody could do that. Like, actually, can everybody please do that? Because we would just understand each other a lot more.
If only.
If literally only.
I did want to talk about how cool it is that we have created such a culture, and I think that is so cool. And I feel like finding pride in being a Black person also is a really nice thing to find, because I think when you grow up in white suburbs, you don't learn that stuff. You want your curly hair to be straight. You want to be like other white people because you don't see any different. But the
beauty standard.
Yeah, but the creation of hip hop and the creation of R&B, the creation of all kinds of Black hairstyles, just finding things in our own HBCUs, which were created because other white people did not want Black people in their institutions.
Right.
We have created a whole culture surrounding that based off of the things that we've been through. And I think that's a really cool thing to have.
I agree. It feels great because a lot of Black people, since we don't know where we're from, like we don't really have, or I know that I don't really feel like I have like culture in that sense. Yeah. So like the fact that African American culture,
right,
was created, and like you can have something that is almost like your own, that you can have something that you can claim, and like, oh, this is what we do.
And that's why when other people try and move in and take that stuff and
it just feels like
and makes it,
you have your own,
right,
like,
and that causes a lot of
thing?
This causes a lot of division too, because it's like, well, if you want equality, then everything has to be together, but it wasn't set up that way from the first place.
Right.
So I think trying to find understanding, I think trying to find equality is such a sought after word. And I'm not saying that I don't think it's possible, but I don't think that will ever truly be equal in the eyes of everybody because of what happened. So the next best thing is to understand each other, appreciate each other, and most importantly, respect one another, no matter what race you are.
No matter, yeah. So
that we can understand cultures and appreciate them and not appropriate them, you know?
Exactly. Because cultural appropriation is real. Not very only real. Black people, but to like every single...
To Native Americans, to Mexican people, to like...
To everyone.
Everybody.
Like, there's many people that I've just experienced that firsthand, and it's not fun at all, because then I feel like they're like, well, what's wrong? We're just appreciate. There's a difference between appropriation and appreciation.
Yes.
You can appreciate the culture, but once you start appropriating, you don't know anything about this history. You're just doing it because
you saw it, and
oh, I just wanted to try these box braids.
Learn about it.
I just wanted to wear, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a huge difference, and it can come off so disrespectful and just ignorant, and you have to tread lightly. If you're going to try to appreciate it, I need you to tread just very lightly, because you can start offending people like very quickly.
Very, very, very quickly. I wanted to also talk about the importance of bringing Christ back into culture and music. Because I feel like we strayed a little bit. We've definitely strayed a little bit. I feel like music is highly sexual right now. I'm not saying oh no, I only listen to pure music. I listen to Drake. I listen to Nicki. I listen to Cardi. But I'm saying that I think that it doesn't help that we have such the message that is in music is what I'm trying to say has changed so much, especially for Black people to put that out, and then for Black young men and women to listen to that. Sometimes it influences you, and I don't think that we realize that. But that's why I like J. Cole, because I think he's a very real artist, and not everybody has to be real. Don't make it into something that it's not. But I like the stories that he tells and the way that he's honest with his fan base and in his songs and uses it as kind of an outlet,
J. Cole appreciation, honestly.
Yeah.
There are many artists that they are real and they do use their influence and their following to try to help.
Yeah.
Because even whenever, I think it was in 2020, when did Bigger Picture come out? Like 2020?
I think so.
I think it was like 2020. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's things that artists can do.
Yeah.
Just to talk about different issues.
Yeah.
And some of them don't, and that's fine. I mean, that's your
prerogative. There's a market for everybody.
Right. And do I listen to music that has absolutely no meaning? Yes.
Yes.
Do I listen to music that's literally like
awful?
Yes.
Yeah,
100%.
Yes.
But I do definitely appreciate those songs that are real, and I feel like they said make you think. It's just like lyrical music. 100%.
Shout out to you, J. Cole. J. Cole fan club, bro.
Right. Okay. This is something that I want to talk about, because to go back to that like 2020 thing. Let's tell a little anecdote. Is that what it is? Anecdote's like a story, right?
Yes.
Let me tell my anecdote, guys.
That's in our podcast bio. We're going to tell you a personal anecdote right now. A
personal anecdote.
Because that's in our title.
Okay. So I remember in 2020, after like all the protests were going on, not even after, during all the protests, and just it was more at the forefront of people's minds because you couldn't really escape it, honestly.
On TVs everywhere, social media, like everywhere.
Because it was it was like a huge movement.
Right.
And I just remember some of the people that I was friends with at the time that were white.
Yeah.
Or just not Black. They said absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, like, in the moment.
Maybe they didn't know it's the right thing to say. I have no idea. I know,
but even when you could have just posted a black screen on that, like, everyone's like posting black screens, whatever, you could have just posted a black screen. Like, I don't know why, just to me, in my head, I was like, it just kind of hurt. Like, it almost hurt that, like, these people didn't say anything, because it felt like you weren't advocating for me.
Right.
Like, it felt like, you're like, oh, I'm not racist, I have black friends. But what are you, like, you're not supporting the thing that people are doing that trying to help. Like, you're not supporting.
Say I'm not racist. I have black friends.
Invalid.
Hello. Like, incels have friends that are women. Like, what are y'all talking about?
Yeah, I don't know. No sense. It just made me feel like really like, oh, it just made me feel really bad. And I remember I was like genuinely like upset about it. Like, I almost cried over this, and I felt like I didn't want to be friends with these people anymore. Like, I just didn't, because I felt like you truly did not care, and you couldn't even do it. Like, you stood silent. You know how they always say, like, in like those like bullying videos, is like, if you saw it, you're in the wrong too, or something, and you didn't say anything. That's how I feel like, you see this, you're not saying anything, you're in the wrong too.
And it makes you feel like you're not seen.
Silence is compliance.
And silence is a choice too. If you don't want to make a choice, not making a choice is making a choice. I don't think people realize that.
Right.
Not saying anything is saying something in itself.
It really did. And I understand not knowing what to say, and I get that entirely, but you could have posted a black screen.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you could have posted that black screen.
Yeah. I agree.
And also, in this topic, do you think that preferences are real? Like, the guys that are like, oh, I just don't like black girls. Is that a real preference, or is that racism?
I think this is such like a controversy. I don't think we've honestly really gotten to like controversy.
This is kind of controversial
yet, but
cancel Kennedy.
Okay, I think I agree but I also disagree. Okay.
I am the exact same way.
Okay, because I get where people are coming from, where they're like, okay, but I just don't like this. Okay, if you don't like it, like, nobody's gonna force you not to like it.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't like if you don't like apples, nobody's gonna force feed you apples. Like, what? But I do think it's weird to say that you don't like a race.
I think so too.
Like, if you really think about it, like, break it down a little bit. You're saying that you don't like either facial features, mannerisms of an entire race.
Skin color? Question mark?
And that's a little bit.
I think that you like this question got brought up to me, and it was about this, like, they were talking about, oh, people say that, oh, I'm just like, I'm not into like transgender women or whatever, like, and they were like, oh, if you don't like them because they're trans, then you're transphobic. So this concept, I don't know how I feel about that also.
I don't know.
But I'm not going to touch on that.
We're not going to get into
We're not going to touch on that. I don't know how to feel about that. But back to this. So you don't like this black girl because she's black. Because you're saying, I don't like black girls. So what is the common denominator besides they're girls and they're black? Do you not like girls? Question mark? Or you just don't like black girls? That's what it is. And so I feel like it's like, you don't like this girl because she's black. You don't like these people because they're black. Like, there's nothing else to it. It's because they're black. And there's difference between, you can have a type. Just say, oh, my type is this. You didn't have to say I don't like black girls.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's nicer ways to come across with a preference and saying like,
than to just like flat out say,
just, I don't like black girls.
I just feel like there's more respectful ways that you can go about it.
Yeah.
We are talking from two black girls, but this goes for white women, Mexican women. Like, if you just say, I don't like Mexican women, like, what?
Huh?
Hello?
No, I actually don't like Indian girls.
Like,
like
why? You're just blinking at them like, what?
Exactly.
But I also think if a white man said I don't like black girls, they would get a lot more hate than if a black man said it. Just saying.
If a black man said what? He didn't like black girls?
Yeah.
That the white man would get more hate?
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. Because then they'd be like, oh, it's about race. But then the black man'd be like, I'm black too.
I'm black too. I just don't like my some of the stuff, like, if you have to break down the way that you think to realize that there's fault in it. Because I think not liking an entire race, like, not just one person, but the whole race.
To rid off an entire race?
Do you know how many people?
Exactly.
How many different people? How many people who look completely different, but they're the same race? Like, I think it's just a little bit insane.
It is. And it's because they're black.
Okay, I wanted to ask you this before we close off, and that's about reparations for slavery. I think it's not going to do what people want it to do. And I think it's going to further... I just dropped my pen on my computer. Sorry, guys. I think it's going to further the division between white people and black people. Because they're going to be like, okay, well, that was 400 years ago. Why are you getting money now? You know?
So what's your question?
I'm saying, do you think that we should get reparations for slavery?
Okay. So I feel like I've definitely had this conversation before, and my viewpoint is a little conflicted. Number one, because I feel like if we get reparations, it'll be like, okay, you got your coin, now shut up.
Ooh, yeah.
Because it would be like
you got your money, you can stop talking about it now.
You can stop talking about it now. I don't want to hear the rest of it. You got money, so stop talking. But it would still exist. I don't think that reparations would make racism not exist anymore. At all.
Me either. I don't like I said, I don't think it's going to do what people want it to do.
I don't know what people expect it to do.
I think people want it to be like, oh, and we can go do this now, and this is going to change this and this and that, and we can finally be recognized that slavery was a bad thing, and now they're paying their descendants. And I just don't agree with that.
Okay, I definitely get the whole meaning behind it. If you don't know, did we talk about what reparations are?
No.
So basically, I think the idea behind the reparations for slavery is that these white people, they have had companies for years, and their families have, they built this house, they bought this house.
So it's been generational wealth.
Exactly. The generational wealth has been built for many, 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 many years. But since black people were robbed of that, they're starting from like
scratch
100 meters further back.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it is. Like, imagine everybody's running a race except they're like a lap ahead of you.
Yeah.
So the reparations were to try to close that gap a little. Will it do that? No. But
I think it's gonna widen the gap. Actually,
honestly, I just feel like it would. I just don't see in society. I feel like it would just make it worse. Now, financially, I couldn't tell you. I'm 16 years old, but I just feel like, but I don't want that to be like me being like, oh, I'm afraid of the reactions to be like, we don't deserve reparations. Yeah. I think that, yes, I get the idea behind it. Do I think that it's going to happen? Absolutely not. And do I think that it would help anything? Absolutely not. I feel like it would just make it worse because then there's going to be conflict. You got your money, shut up. Like, I would just do it out at this point. Like, I don't want to go through it, to be honest. Yeah. I don't want to hear it from anybody. So I would just be like, no.
Yeah. All right.
I think my answer is no.
Okay. That was our episode on being Black in America, but I did want to talk about the length of our episodes. I feel like, it's not everybody's jam, but I love the length of our episodes personally. I love how much we can get through when we talk as long as we do. And you can just put on the podcast, go do your dishes, go to the laundry.
It's definitely not everybody's cup of tea. Like, does anybody want to listen to something for 40 minutes? I would personally. Some people are very much a 5-8 minute kind of gal. Yeah. I'm not. I'm like a 30-45 minute. Let me sit down and like
I love to listen to something when I'm like doing like mindless tasks like laundry or something, because it just makes it feel like it goes by faster.
It does. Honestly, it's really nice.
So I like the length of our episodes. I hope that you enjoyed it.
I do too. I hope everyone has a great Black History Month, even though it's 28 days.
Yes.
We didn't even touch on that.
Oh yeah.
Why we got the shortest month? Why we got that?
I think that's a question. I don't know.
Man.
But if you take anything away, just research. Do more research. Learn
even if you're Black,
you
probably don't know everything.
Think outside the box. Question the way you think,
Yeah, and why you think that way.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Do you want to close out? Because I always do it.
So, like, plug our socials?
Yeah.
No, this is scary.
Really? Okay. Guys, thank you for listening to this video. We have a TikTok at The Silver Lining with M&K. We're going to start doing video podcasts very soon. We have an Instagram, The Silver Lining with M&K. You can find out what our episodes are before we release them. We also have important information. We'll have a giveaway eventually on the Instagram, which we're both excited about. We also have YouTube at The Silver Lining with M&K. We're at over 25 podcasting platforms, so you really don't have an excuse to listen.
Excuse.
Literally no excuse.
Give a rate.
Someone in Antarctica could listen, so if you are making excuses, they just don't hold up. They really just don't.
They don't.
Give us 5 stars. If you give us less, then don't put it.
Don't put it at all. Like I said, lock your doors.
And leave us a review. Thank you guys so much for coming weekly to listen to us speak.
Thank you so much. And seriously, comment down below if you can tell our voices apart.
Comment on what, Mia?
I don't know. I just like saying that. Like, I just like saying this like a YouTube video. Comment down below if you can tell our voices apart, okay?
Okay. Bye, guys.